Hello everyone and welcome back to Prestige Reef. Today is the day that we have been waiting for. Finally, after 76 long days, quarantine is over. And my God, am I happy that it's over. In this video, I will show you the tank, which obviously, as you can see, the lights are on at the moment, but this is literally just for the video. They will be going off again. I'm gonna be keeping off for a little bit longer because all the time there's no coral in there. It doesn't matter too much because obviously the fish don't need it. I'll also be showing you me catching the fish in the quarantine tank, acclimating them, and then obviously putting them in this tank. They will all be going in at the same time. Now, although you might think this is a lot of fish going into a tank all at the same time, I think there's about 10 of them. And I wouldn't usually advise this if the tank wasn't cycled and ready, but obviously this tank has been running for a while. And even during the quarantine period, I've still been feeding it an equal amount to what I would be feeding normally. So in theory, the bacterial load on this tank should be fine. If anything, it actually would be better because obviously the fish digest the food, which means there's actually less waste than just by putting the food in there. Whereas at the moment, all I've got in there are two very, very fat cleaner shrimp because they're getting an entire cube of mysis a day. Now in the last tank update, you saw that I had changed the aquascape. This is it in all its glory with the lights on. I much prefer it to the last one. And from the comment section from the last video, so do you. All that's been in this tank during the quarantine period is a few snails. There are a couple of urchins in here and there are two cleaner shrimp. These cleaner shrimp are the ones that are eating all the mysis. So they are very, very happy. It's interesting because both of them are pregnant. And as you can see, as before, I don't know if you can see them, there are literally hundreds of amphipods. So this is a very, very mature tank, ready for fish, ready for coral. All I need to worry about, the dinoflagellates come back. If they do come back, I'm not overly worried because I have a plan now. As I said before, I have a microscope. I put miracle mud in here which is supposed to help, and I also have something called water glass, which is essentially silicates. You're dosing silicates. That causes the diatoms to outcompete the dinoflagellates. So yeah, there's not a lot to show in comparison to last time. The one thing I do love with the tank having no lights on it is, actually there's two things I love. Firstly, you don't have to clean algae off the glass, and secondly, start to realize just how pretty some of the snails are. They have really, really intricate designs on them, whereas a lot of the time they have algae growing on them. Some of the ones in this tank are absolutely covered in coralline algae. All these little amphipods are not going to know what hit them when the fish goes in. They have lived a life of luxury while obviously there's been no fish or coral in here. That time is coming to an end. They are not going to know what's hit them. Enjoy the last remaining hours of the party because life is about to get much harder for you again. Right, so this is the plan. I'm going to siphon some water from the tank upstairs into this box, and then I'm also going to take some water from this tank. This is actually, conveniently, remember I said I broke the UV sterilizer? This was the tube that was going into the UV sterilizer. So I just have to turn this pipe, and it should, maybe a bit too fast, it will put water into the tank and spray it all over the floor. So I'm not going to put a huge amount of water in here, just enough so that the fish have enough to swim in. And then it literally is going to be 50-50. It's going to be 50% this water and 50% water from the quarantine tank. And then once I've done that, I can put the fish in it. Right, now in here is the water from the quarantine tank, which if you notice is a little bit greener than the water from the tank that's upstairs. Right, now the water obviously looks a little bit murky still. To be fair, the UV sterilizer worked an absolute treat. So I'll probably need about 2 of these. And then after that, it's pretty much time to start catching the fish. So what I will do is I will take these out first. They've got nowhere to hide. It shouldn't be too hard. These will be some of the easiest fish I've had to catch, I reckon. So this now water is 50-50 between the quarantine tank and obviously this tank. Some people will drip acclimate the fish over a longer period of time, but 50% of each water, I've already matched the temperature and I've also matched the salinity. As far as I'm concerned, it should be fine. The fish can obviously tell that something's up because they're never sort of this shy. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these out except one. And the one that I'm leaving in is the one with the king eye in it, and I will explain to you why later. Now these were just in as a place for the fish to hide during quarantine. Obviously you can't put anything porous in there, so this gives the fish a home to live in. Now this is why I'm leaving the one that the king eye lives in the tank. And the reason for that is because king eyes, or all large angelfish, or I believe all large angelfish, have these spines on the side of their faces, and they get caught in the net really, really easily. So what I will do is I will lift the fish out in this, literally pretty much with just my hand covering the bottom, and then I'll be able to get the fish out by hand, and then there is no chance that it'll be able to get caught in the net. We have the first fish for the water box has been caught. And then we just have to very gently release her into the water, into the new water, well, the 50-50 water. So that's one done. There's two. So let's see if he goes back and sees his missus. Straight over, look at that, straight over. He's some moral support. See, that's true love right there. Here's three, exactly the same as the king eye, where they have sharp spines on their gills, and it's best to do it by hand so that they don't get caught in the net. And here's four. This is the jewel tang. Tangs are similar to the angels, where they have a little spike on the base of their tail. That's why they're called surgeonfish, because they have like a little blade on the tail, which also can get caught in the net. Still a little thin, but it's actually one of my favourite fish. And if there was a fish that I was going to lose, this is the one that I'd have been most disappointed by. It's pulled through. As I said, it was a little bit thin in the last video. It is still a little bit thin, but I'll be able to feed so much more in the obviously the 1,000 litre tank than I can feed in the 100 litre tank. Fish 5 is a yellow tang, which is most likely to be the bully of the group at the moment. This is, I believe, a tank bred yellow tang, one of the original, not the very, very first ones, but people often say that yellow tangs that are tank bred aren't the same as wild ones. And as far as I'm concerned, this one is just as bright as a wild one. Right now, fish 6 is the king eye angelfish. This is the fish which I have been doing everything for to keep alive. The whole reason that I'm quarantining is specifically for this fish. I'd never quarantined before, but obviously because it's such a huge cost involved, I can't take any chances. This also happens to be the fish which every morning I woke up and was like, is it dead? And if I couldn't see it, I panicked, only to then have it swim out one of the tubes. She is an absolutely beautiful fish, and I love the fact that she has like an X on her side. And to be fair, she's been as good as gold with the other fish. They're like, considering she's obviously the largest fish in there, so she's the dominant one. Even in the small quarantine tank, she hasn't attacked them. Fish 7 is my yellow assessor. I still have a blue assessor left. This fish was the bane of my existence. This was the hardest of all the fish to catch. When I caught all the fish from the water box originally before quarantining them, the blue assessor went into the trap straight away, and the yellow assessor took me about 3 weeks to catch. This quarantine would have been ended a lot sooner had it not been for this fish. This was actually the fish that led to me stripping down the whole tank, taking apart all the aquascape and redoing it just so I could get it out. Scarlet hawkfish was also another one I ended up catching by hand. For some reason it was easier to catch by hand than in the net. Now interestingly, I have never, in 17 years, I've never ever had a scarlet hawkfish. This is a new one for me. Now this fish, I got the fish just before all the fish need to go into quarantine. So this fish was actually in quarantine for about 100 days, which isn't ideal for it. But it's never been in the water box tank. This will be the first time I actually get to see it on display. And the final fish to go in is the blue assessor, which is actually genuinely a really, really beautiful fish. Like it's sort of like a really, really navy blue. However, with the water box having a black background, you can literally never see it. So I was hesitant whether to even put this back in the tank, but I probably will, because obviously I've been through a lot with these fish now. I'll be completely honest with you, not all of the fish made it through quarantine. There was a copper band and a royal grammar. The copper band in that tank, it was impossible to keep it alive with the amount of food that they require without sort of becoming an issue for all the other fish. So I did my best. I even tried putting in a separate tank, a different quarantine tank, and feeding it like directly like that, but it just unfortunately got weaker and weaker. So that's part of the hobby. This is about showing you the good and the bad. I have to leave these guys for probably half an hour now, and then I'll get them in. Right now, as you can see, all the fish are in. What I'm doing is I'm sitting a couple of meters away or a few meters away from the tank just to let the fish get on with it, so that I'm not sort of there annoying them even more, filming them. What I can say though is if you watch them here for a few minutes, you start to see that they are absolutely nailing the amphipods. The amphipods are going to know this as the Great Massacre of June 2024. Yeah, I just saw the Majestic grab another one. Right, now that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Please feel free to comment below if you have any questions. If you did enjoy it, why not click that like and subscribe button. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time.